Hello, it's me, the ukulele teacher. I'm here with a very special video, a special guest, something a bit more laid back than usual. I'm joined by Peter from the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain.
Hi John, it's great to have you over here in my house in England, and I wanted to come up to London last year, but just didn't make it. And I know you saw Will from the band, and it was great meeting you in America, and we may meet you in America next year.
Oh great.
We're out in LA in April, I think, again.
Oh, that'd be really exciting, yeah. Because I know you did the East Coast
we did East Coast and some of the Midwest, Iowa, and some of the South. We did Georgia, Atlanta.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
well, I hope you guys do, yeah. As you said, we were going to hopefully meet up last time, and it didn't work out because you fell ill.
Yeah, I was ill, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, then my serious illness.
Yeah, that's what I was going to...
No, this was not a showbiz illness.
No, like genuinely.
I've got a cold.
Yeah.
I got... the truth is, I felt pretty terrible, and I had to go away and do some gigs in Germany, so I felt like terrible loads of times and travelled, and you get over it. But this was a kind of flu-y thing it was cold. I had a cold. And I flew from London City Airport to Frankfurt, and I remember on the flight getting this terrible piercing pain in my ear, because of the cold, I thought. And it turned out that I had been infected with bacterial meningitis.
Wow.
Which is not a genetic thing or nothing from my parents. Anyone can get it, and it comes through air conditioning systems. So, I landed in Germany, felt terrible again, did a show, and then the next day, I still felt terrible. We travelled to the next place. I felt so bad, I said to the rest of the people in the band, listen, I'm not going to come to the sound check because I just want to sleep. I'll come down for a meal, and then I will play the show. So I missed the sound check, and when I didn't come down for the meal, everyone said, oh, something's not right when Peter doesn't come down for a meal. So they went and checked my room, and I was delirious apparently in the room. They called the doctor and ambulance, and by great stroke of fortune, on the same floor was a neurosurgeon who was there for a completely different event. But he saw me and was able to say to the ambulance guys, check in for meningitis, because it's very important to get in quickly when you get meningitis. And so I went straight to hospital and was operated on within 24 hours.
In Germany?
In Germany, yeah.
Wow.
Great healthcare there.
Yeah.
And we actually went back to the same town this year, and I met the doctor who travelled in the ambulance with me. Yeah, so it was really great.
Yeah.
And I was there for about 2 or 3 weeks.
In a German hospital? In
a German hospital. My wife came out. It always happens at the worst time, because it was just at the end of term, and daughter was, doing a school play.
Yeah.
And my wife had to sort of say, Peter Daddy is, he's got a cold and he can't come back to the play. Because straight after this German tour, we were meant to be going to America to do the tour last year. So anyway, I made a full recovery, amazing recovery really.
Yeah.
I'm here and all my bits are working. And, that was it really.
That's like terrible what happened, but it's great that you're sort of back up on your feet.
Yeah. I came face to face with death. Really, and there was no kind of travelling towards the white light or travelling down the tunnel or any of those things. But it was. I woke up after 6 days unconscious. I looked around and I thought I'd had a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I was actually in a hospital in Munster in Germany, and I thought I was at my local hospital in Margate.
Yeah.
So I was saying to all the nurses, because they all spoke English, I said, wow, do you live in Margate? I thought, he's crazy.
Yeah. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So were you out of the orchestra for a while? Did they carry on gigging without you?
They carried on, because the thing about the orchestra is it can kind of contract down.
It's sort of a collective.
It's a collective, and our usual playing strength is 8. The bare minimum is 6, and I just dropped out, and they just rearranged the show and carried on doing it. So it can sort of expand and contract as needs be.
So you've been in the orchestra for, is it something like 20 years or something?
Yeah, since 1995. 1995. I started off, yeah.
But that wasn't your first taste of being a performer, was it? I mean, how long have you been Have you always wanted to be on stage, or?
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, the usual kind of vanity, egomania that we all...
I understand.
All us performers have. But, you know, I was also quite shy as well, so this is why I kind of, you know, would go on stage in a character. And I wanted to do that, but I didn't come from any kind of a showbiz background. My dad was a diplomat, so I didn't really know how to get into it, you know. And so I was on the peripheries of show business, you know, being in bands and doing comedies, you know, around comedians for about 20 years before you know, finally the Ukes broke out.
So, so you started doing comedy. That was like maybe your first thing. Is that stand-up comedy, do you mean? Or?
No, I was in bands first, but there was a lot of, it was a very prop-heavy, you know, we would give away televisions and...
Really, yeah.
Yeah, we'd have a little quiz halfway through the set. You know, so we'd be playing our numbers and then we'd be, whoa, you know, now we're going to have a quiz. And in those days, you could always find TVs in... you know, skips and everything.
Oh, right,
so we would get the TV.
So not necessarily a brand new...
No. It would be a sort of second-hand TV, and I would be this kind of character who was like a quiz show host, and I'd say, and in the red corner we have, you know, X and Y, and then I'd ask them stupid questions, and then one of them would get this TV
that's great.
from a skip.
Yeah. That's actually one of my unfulfilled ambitions as quiz show host. Yeah,
it's great. You've got to be... Inside, there's got to be nothing.
Right.
You know,
I'm getting there.
No, me too. Yeah. You there's a kind of and the deadness behind the eyes. You know. That's when someone is a real star.
After the music, or I guess parallel with music, you did some work with Vic Reeves.
I had thought at one point I started playing the ukulele in about 1989. And by about sort of 1992 or something, I thought, I've got to go and make something happen with this ukulele. So I had seen this thing which said Vic Reeves, it was in the back of a newspaper called The Stage, said Vic Reeves' Big Night Out, you know, talent competition, star prize, a slot on Jules Holland's TV show, because Jules Holland had a TV show those days.
The Tube.
Yeah, I think so, and Vic Reeves did drink in the same pub as Jules Holland. So anyway, I thought, that sounds good. So I went along with my ukulele, played some songs, and I got beaten by a pair of singing underpants.
Okay.
And so I thought, this is kind of an interesting show, because at that time, you know, the show that he was doing was quite, you know, surreal. And in British comedy at that time, it was kind of quite political. Like Ben Elton was the kind of the big comic then. So, I just got involved with him while he was doing things in pubs. And then, you know, he moved to a larger theatre, and he had a whole troupe of people around him who kind of acted in his shows. And it was only when he met Bob Mortimer that he kind of, you know, it's the kismet moment when that really, you know, and then all the kind of little people like me sort of fell away.
Yeah.
They took a sort of rocket up to, you know, superstardom. In the UK, because I imagine no Americans have heard of them.
Probably, actually, I mean, a lot of people in the UK wouldn't even get that humour, so I don't think it would travel too well at all.
No. But some British humour Americans really like, you know, like Monty Python. That's a real... And that's strange, because it's kind of it's such an odd humour, but it seems to travel really well. Whereas and Benny Hill, you go in...
I've never understood the American love for Benny Hill.
Yeah, well, in fact, you go... Well, it's a bit like the same love they have for Rowan Atkinson, because he's like a physical comedian. But like, you know, you go to sort of Peru or Uzbekistan, Benny Hill, you know, or Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean, of course,
So that's like physical comedy. Anything language-based is, you know, different, really.
Talking of the little people that sort of were around Vic and Bob when they became huge, the first time I ever saw you, and I obviously didn't know you at the time, 20, 30 years ago maybe, was in a tiny TV show called Les Lives. Which I was like obsessed by, and I've never met anyone else who even remembers
so
it.
Weird,
I'm afraid. But it was sort of a 5-minute surreal comedy art short TV show on BBC Two.
That's right.
On I think it was like a Tuesday evening at 6:25 or something.
That ran for 5 minutes.
That ran for 5 minutes. And that was with Les, who was the assistant to Vic.
He was the
Reeves.
sidekick of Vic Reeves, and he when the show went to TV, he was in Vic and Bob's show for a couple of episodes, and then someone said, "Would you like to make, a little series of, I suppose, like some Jacques Tati shorts?" And he roped in some of his friends, and I was one of them. And I thought it was, it was sort of interesting. I mean, it wasn't a sort of belly laugh material, but it was...
No, but it was something really interesting about it.
It was very interesting, and it had a bit of money put behind it, and I think they showed most of the episodes, and they're all up on YouTube now. But it's certainly an interesting experience, because I'd never been on a show like that or anything, and it's just obviously because I'm so very tall, I just did all the tall parts, and it was good fun. It was good fun, but it didn't lead on to anything else, as you're always expecting something to do.
I suppose so, because you do kind of, I think TV is one of those things where you sort of think, if you haven't seen someone for 6 months, you're like, oh, whatever happened to them? And again, back in those days, this is, I know it's your interview, but this is one of the reasons why I was so fascinated with the show, is because nowadays, if there's something on TV, everyone involved will have like a Twitter account. And you'll know everything about them, and it'll be sort of like, hey, the show's finished, but you can see me at this pub, or doing this thing, or follow my Facebook, whatever. But in those days, that was just a show that seemed to pop up from nowhere and vanish nowhere. And I've just been like really obsessed with it ever since.
Oh, right.
So it was just kind of something that stuck with me.
He, Fred, who is Les, he, just carried on. He always sort of, because Vic Reeves' show started in Deptford, that's where he was living, he always felt he always wanted to live there, and I don't know what he wasn't really sort of a performer. His trouble was that he'd been given this really popular role as a kind of mute, so he couldn't take it any further other than developing it. It was just, it's difficult to develop it and make it into something else, if you see what I mean. And so he just did that one series, and then went back to Civvy Street as a well, we all did, 'cause, I mean, that was one of the reasons why, when the sort of the Vic and Bob show had really taken off and become successful, and I'd done this other TV show, and then I had to sort of go back to work as a gardener, and I thought, here we are, and it's busted back down to the little people again, and that's when I went on that talent show,
the Des O'Connor.
It was a talent show called, what was it called?
Pot of Luck or something?
Pot of Gold.
Pot of Gold, right, yeah.
And what it was tied in with some kind of bingo with the Daily Star, which is kind of like the cheapest, the National Enquirer of, it's the National Enquirer...
like it's a low rent.
Yeah, that's right,
or unreliable.
And that was tied in with bingo on that, and basically it was just like club acts that came on, and it was one of these shows where I'd seen another advertisement in the paper saying, "Want to be a star? Come along and audition." And so I went along, wearing my blue blazer and my pink ukulele, and played. There's an awful lot of coffee in Brazil, and they obviously saw me and thought, right, he's going to be in it. And what happens when I got to the show, they had the kind of usual bland entertainers. This is about 1994 or something, and then they had all these people called the wannabes, because they were all kind of the loonies, and they wanted them to be in the show. So I suddenly realised, oh, you've chosen me to be in that,
right.
And we had to kind of run on halfway through the show and do our bit for 30 seconds. It's a bit like the Gong Show.
Oh yeah.
Where you they sort of rang a bell and get off, next one.
That's back on TV now in the States.
Oh, is it really? Right. Oh, I've always liked that show. But anyway, so it's a bit like, that was what my segment was like. But the interesting thing was that I did that, and I thought, oh God, it's going out on mainstream TV. But then some friends of mine who were working for a record company, a guy called Clive from this band called Doctor and the Medics, who had a big hit with Spirit in the Sky in the 80s. They had a record company which were going to make a record with the Ukulele Orchestra. And Clive said to the band leader of the Ukulele Orchestra, "You ought to meet my friend Peter, because he was on TV playing Jimi Hendrix on the TV on the ukulele," which is a complete load of nonsense. So that's how the Ukes first got to hear about me. And I first got to hear about the Ukulele Orchestra. And so I subsequently went to see them playing in a pub, and this was, a long time ago, probably about 1994. And then I just started, doing some performances with them.
Yeah. And all this time you had a day job as well.
Yeah, I was working as a kind of landscape gardener, so I could go out and play in the evening.
But as well as being involved with them, you had like your own band?
Yeah, I'd also, that kind of really got legs when I joined the Ukulele Orchestra. At that time, the Ukulele Orchestra was, playing maybe 2 or 3 times a month. And I was in my first phase of ukulele craziness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thought this is the instrument of the gods, and everyone else thinks it's a joke, but I knew it was the truth.
Boy, yeah, okay.
We've all been through that, and I thought so I got my first ukulele, and I thought I've got to get more, and then I thought, why wouldn't it be great if I got a little electric ukulele, like, a solid bodied thing? So I had to go to a luthier, and I said, right, what I want is for you to make a kind of electric guitar, but a ukulele.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's very easy to find those, but then in the 90s, there weren't any. You had to have them made. So I sort of had this a couple of electric ukuleles made, and then I had to kind of convince a guitar player to say, I've got this idea for a band, but you don't play the guitar, you play the ukulele. And everyone said, huh? And it was only when I got my friend Jonty, who's
in the Ukulele Orchestra. Yeah.
I said, well, and he played a little bit of guitar, and I said, why don't you come and play the ukulele in my band? That he got a friend of his in who was a really good drummer, and then we got another good guitarist in, and suddenly we started to do lots of gigs on that.
Still the truth may come in strange disguises, never knowing what it means. Hey, Jintabaya 10 bar, Jintabaya 10 bar.
The trouble was, when we did demo tapes and we sent them around to universities saying, this is our band, we're called the Ukulele Kings, when you have an electric ukulele, going through a pedal board, it sounds just like a guitar.
So you couldn't tell from the tape?
Yeah, so from the tape it was just like, sounds like a guitar band. But it was sort of visually, it was, particularly with me at 6.
I was going to say, and it was quite a visual thing, because you're like a great sort of front person with this band.
Yeah, 6
You've got
8,
the
so
suit,
it's tall.
Yeah, he's sitting like about 5 feet behind me. The video looks like you're shorter than me. Yeah. Yeah, but that's great. I didn't realise you lasted for so long. So for I guess 10 years you were in the Ukulele Orchestra, the Ukulele Kings, and you had a day job.
Yeah. But that's what everyone did. You just kind of went out and played, and some of those gigs that we go and do with the Ukulele Kings, driving to the middle of Wales for £300 or something
between your
But then when you're young, you're just really up for it. So it was good. It's great.
So when did you don't have a day job now. So when did things start to kind of, I guess, take off for you, or fall into place?
Well, probably with the band. Because I used to say to my wife, when the Ukes started playing a lot, we sort of toured village halls, and I thought this has got another couple of years before it all falls down, and then it didn't, and it would kind of go up a notch. So instead of playing village halls, we'd be playing arts centres, and then we do that for a year, and I'd say, another year or something, and then we got a TV appearance. We did a thing on the Jules Holland show, which really went over. That was about 2004. And it was quite interesting because it's a pre-recorded thing, and it's a New Year's Eve show, so they pre-record it in November.
Yeah.
But I was in Budapest with some friends, and we started getting all these texts when the show was aired. People saying, wow, this is great, and everything. And
was this the Nirvana cover?
Yeah. And that was another weird thing, because we were in the studio and we were going to play. We weren't going to do that. We were going to do this well-known song by British band The Undertones called Teenage Kicks. But that was the favourite song of a famous British DJ called John Peel, who just died. And so it had been played a lot, Teenage Kicks. And the producer of the Jules Holland show said, have you got any other rock numbers? And we just started doing Teen Spirit. And so the band leader said, yeah, we can do Teen Spirit. And so we did that, and they said, yeah, that'll do. And so suddenly it was the guy next to me, Dave, was going to sing Tea and Kick. Suddenly all the spotlight was on me.
you,
It's
right,
like,
yeah.
oh God, you know. And then when we got into the studio, you know, there was Mavis Staples, and there was Eric Clapton.
Oh, wow, wow, yeah.
You know, just like, oh, you know, and then you just think, to hell with it, in you go.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then the gigs got bigger, and then we did Glastonbury, and I said to my wife, you know, maybe another 3 years. And then we did the proms, and then in 2009, I kind of, because my life was getting pretty schizophrenic. We were still living in London then, and I remember playing, when we played the proms, you know, it was 6,000 people, we sold it out.
Is that the Royal Albert Hall?
Yeah, the Royal Albert Hall. And at the end, everyone went off for an after-show party, and I went home because I had to get up for work the next day.
Oh, yeah.
And I, in 2009, I just looked at, you know, both jobs, and I thought, well, the ukulele is kind of more of a goer. And so I flipped over into doing that full-time. So next year, it'll be 10 years full-time playing the ukulele.
Yeah. And what is full-time for the Ukulele Orchestra? Like, how many gigs a month or a year are you playing at the moment?
About 100. You know, I mean, in terms of nights away and travelling. I mean, it used to be a bit more a few years ago, but now we tend to sort of compact them.
To do tours?
Yeah. So, like when we go to the States, for example, they'll say, you know, can you come for a month or a month and a half? And we can't tour for 6 weeks because several of us have families and all of that, and we can't be away from home that long. But so our kind of outer limit is 3 weeks at the moment. But I think the next tour we're doing, some people are going to do half of it, and some people will do the whole thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's quite grueling, especially as you get older, sleeping in a different hotel room every night.
Yeah.
You know, plus a couple of early starts, and you know, it can really, you know, you're just disorientated all the time. You're just, you know, first of all, your clothes. Like the last tour we were, you know, in Maine where there's snow on the ground, or Iowa, and then we're in you fly into Georgia. It's like, whew.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it still enjoyable for you to play with the orchestra? And for them?
Yeah. You know, the things which piss you off are the travelling, the hanging around. The playing's always great. There's a famous clip of, I think it's Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Talking to people being interviewed, and he says, you know, what have we done all day for the last, you know, 12 hours? Nothing.
Yeah.
We've just sat around while sort of technicians have fiddled with this or that. You know, so you've just got to have that, accept that there's a lot of dead time.
Yeah.
When you've got to stay there, but nothing happens, you know. And then there's travel time, so, you know, you do things to keep yourself interested while you travel, and, you know, listen to podcasts or read or... Yeah, so, you know, it's...
So however grueling the tour is, you always enjoy the on-stage time?
Yeah. It's just, it's hard work, you know.
So talking of things you do to keep yourself occupied when you're away, I think your most recent project that I saw first last Christmas, I think, maybe the Christmas before, is the Airline Toilets Theatre Company.
Do you
want to just tell us a little bit about that? I don't think I could explain it.
Yeah, okay, well that's because we spend so much time on aeroplanes. I think the last American tour we did, you know, it's 21 days and we took 16 flights, plus the flight over there and back. And so, you know, you can do things like watch the movie, have a drink, eat food, but I thought, no, I'm going to set myself a challenge. I'm going to go into the toilets, and I'm going to dress up as Abraham Lincoln, and I'm going to do the Gettysburg Address, and then I'm going to come out of the toilets, you know, and I'm going to do 12 of these films, put them up online, and you know, raise some money for charity. So I did that. You know, I had to plan everything. I've got one of these pop-up top hats, so I had to learn the Gettysburg Address.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I learned the Hamlet thing, to be or not to be, the Julius Caesar Friends. That was the hardest thing, was learning the lines. The clothes are a doddle.
Yeah.
So I would go in there, put on a toga.
Lock yourself in the toilet.
Yeah, you know, and there'd be a queue outside, people think, oh, you know, he's must be doing something in there. And then you come out and you stick your iPhone on the mirror, and that's what I've been doing.
I mean, if you haven't seen them, I'll put a link up in the corner of the screen somewhere, and they're really great. And it looks like they've increased, the production values are increasing all the time. It's not just you talking into a camera anymore. There's this whole sort of production going on.
That's right, yeah. Well, the longest one I did, and a lot of them have been done on European flights, was there's an old song called from Le Man of La Mancha, the Impossible Dream. The Dream, the Impossible. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to do a whole bunch of costume changes in that? So all of these things, because it's quite noisy in an airline toilet, you have to mime. So you've got to have your headphones in your ear. And like, I went in there and I did 5 costume changes, different. And that was about half an hour, and there was a long queue when I came.
How do you get it all through customs and everything, security?
Well, because you're not actually. What are you taking through? You're taking through an iPhone. You're taking through some sticky gum to put it on the.
Yeah, but what about like the sort of the skull for the Yorick address and the Abraham Lincoln hat and stuff?
Yeah, well,
it must raise a few eyebrows at least.
Well, not really, because they're kind of looking for weapons.
Okay.
Or
not just bizarre props.
No. I mean, I did when the guy he did pull out the skull, and I told him I was a doctor.
Okay. Wow, that's
incredible. So it's just a way of kind of keeping either I'm going crazy, or I've found a very creative way to keep myself sane on tour. I'm not sure which one it is.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out, but they're fantastic, and there's more to come.
There are more to come, but these ones are they're taking 7 or 8 flights to get all of the because the production values has gone up, and I'm now filming with 2 iPhones in the so. It's getting more complicated, and I may try. I was looking at how to do a green screen.
Oh right,
and
okay,
Could I get a green screen in there and maybe do a skiing video? Or
that
something?
Would be incredible. I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
Well, maybe when we meet up next year in America, I'll tell you whether it's worked.
If it's happened or not. Yeah.
Or either that, or I'll be in jail.
Yeah. So in terms of the Ukulele Orchestra, there's, like you said, anywhere from sort of 6 to 8 or 9 or 10 of you at any given time, and you have these great arrangements of all these, vast selection of tunes, sort of classics, rock songs, soundtracks, whatever. And I was just really curious when I saw you guys play, is who arranges them? Do you just sort of jam till they all come together, or does one person take charge?
Most of them, like when we have some kind of big classical piece, it's George, our band leader, who usually brings the parts, because he's an incredible musician, and he reads and he can hear all the parts. And then a lot of the times when we do a lot of pop tunes, we've kind of got so used to, I mean, we have this idea of the drum kit in the band, of the bass, and then someone doing the offbeat, so bass, hi-hat, snare, so that kind of pops up a lot. And then over on our side with me and Dave, we kind of do little twiddles and everything. So some songs take quite a bit of time to get. Like I think we did Dance Macabre at the Proms, and that took us a few days to get together, because doing it on ukuleles is not easy. But I mean, there's sort of a few different ways of doing it, and we all, it's like with any group, when you've known each other a long time, you just really get to know the way people are thinking. Yeah. And so it just works, really. Because we have been together for
a long time.
Yeah, a long time,
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And we talked about your side projects as well as the airline toilets theatre company. You have an alter ego. Tony from Ultimate. Is he still alive? Is he still?
Well, I mean, that was, I suppose, the idea for that was, ages ago, when I mentioned kind of hiding behind a character as a shy person. That I had a series of characters through the 80s and the 90s, and when I made my first sort of album of my own songs, I was using this character, Tony Penultimate, which was. It's actually the name from a Evelyn Waugh book. I think it's Vile Bodies, where there's a character in there called Anthony Last. So I thought, let's get Tony, and then instead of Last, we'll do Penultimate. And it's kind of had that sort of Vegas feel to it.
Showbiz it up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so I've just been using that, and I mean that's what my website is called. And
right.
You know, because it's quite sort of showbizy and snappy rather than Peter Brooke-Turner, which is not showbizy and not snappy.
Right. And you've released 3, is it 3 full albums?
Yeah.
And they're all original, or almost all original compositions.
Yeah. So I've just really, you know, I enjoy writing songs, and a lot of them are done, as are most albums these days, with people just sort of sending you stuff in, you know, recording it in their home studios. And
I did wonder how you put it together.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, a couple of songs I had there was a tuba player in Ireland. So I'd be in America, and you know, at the airport, and like some files would arrive from Australia.
Yeah, amazing.
And everyone does it to a click track, and it's not the same as having the musicians in the room, but it's all accurate, and it gets the idea of the songs across. And
in the 90, I guess it was mid 90s, you did Easy Listening Man, which is like one of my favourites.
Right.
I mean, well, absolutely like my favourite of Total Penultimates, but like I love this song. But there's a video for it from the time, and it looks like there was like a bit of money behind it, maybe. So were you on a label or anything?
No, that was shot at my mum and dad's house.
Really? Okay. Wow.
They had that. I mean, my parents are dead, and they since sold it, but. They had a swimming pool, and the house was nice, and there was a tennis court, and I got about 30 of my friends to all come down, and everyone had sort of their good clothes, and then there was a bunch of like greasers in it who beat me up in the end.
Well, John T was one of them.
Yeah, that's right. And it was just really good fun. It was. And it was shot on. I mean, it was shot on Super 8. I think,
okay, it does have that look.
Yeah, and it was just it was good, you know, and it sort of worked quite well. And
I thought it must have been like released on a label or something.
Oh, I'm glad you thought that.
Yeah, I really, honestly,
yeah, because it wasn't. No, it was all homemade, you know.
Yeah.
But nowadays you can do great homemade things on, on gear like this.
Yeah. If you know how to use it properly. I'm still learning. But, that's great, because there was around that time a sort of easy listening, like a mini craze or boom. You had like Mike Flowers pops.
Yeah, and there was this guy who used to a guy called Count Indigo.
Yeah. I love him.
Yeah,
My Unknown
great.
Love. Yeah.
He's still going and doing stuff, and we played at his club in. Madame Jojo's up in Soho.
Yeah, honestly, that was actually just one of my questions. Did you know Count Indigo?
Yeah, Bruce. Yeah. Well, I think it's his. He's still around. He's on Facebook. You should look him up.
I will. Yeah.
You know, great guy, and he booked us. So it was kind of weird because we played our sort of thrashy rock with the Ukulele Kings in this drag club. And, you know, and I think everyone appreciated, because it was visual. Everyone appreciated the. The kind of comicness of it. Because you've got to remember, back in those days, when you pulled out a ukulele in the 1980s or the 1990s, everyone sort of went, play some Tiny Tim or some George Formby. It was like, what you're playing is a joke. Nowadays, I think a lot of people don't, they just think, it's a ukulele.
Yeah.
So they don't have this reference to, in those days when it was just like, it's just a novelty, a joke,
Yeah. No, now it's very accepted, like a sort of mainstream.
Oh yeah, thing, loads of young stars play. Who's that? Zooey Deschanel,
21 Pilots.
Yeah, and like it's no big deal. But then it was like, whoa,
Yeah, it was sort of like a comedy thing. A quirky thing. Yeah.
I once remember a DJ telling me in a club where telling me to.
Oh, really?
Go and play Leaning on a Lamppost. A famous song of George Formby.
Yeah. So on terms, I just got a couple of last things, but in terms of songwriting, I'm just curious because it's something that I'm really fascinated by and dreadful at. How do you compose a song? Do you do it on the ukulele, or do you play on the piano or something?
Well, it just sort of I like humming things, and like my mum always used to like tunes, so it doesn't matter if it's hip hop or opera, if it's got a nice tune, so I just noodle around, and then I don't think any of us really write songs. I think they're all
up there somewhere.
They're all up there, and this song thinks I'm going to drop down onto
this guy,
Bono or Chris Martin or you or Kendrick Lamar or and then you suddenly you get, oh, and then you've got to kind of, it's like pulling a little thread out from a shell or something. So I just love that, you know. It's a great way to do it. And then you kind of put the words together, and that's it. I mean, you can sort of learn the process, but I've always just liked doing it. You know, I haven't had much great success doing it, but it's just fun to do it, and to you know, to put it out there.
And you've got, like I said, like 3 albums or at least, and I'm sure many other songs, or whatever. That
they're all on the streaming services.
Yeah. Oh, of course, you've got the SoundCloud page and things.
Yeah, I've got SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes. Yeah. And
are you the only singer on your records, or you have some?
No, I've got some other singers on there. I did a song on my last album which I sung with an opera singer called "The Magic Inappropriate," which was all about, I don't know, these dance crazes in the 1960s, like the mashed potato, and I had this idea for, you know, a dance craze that was incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
You know, because they're all when you're doing the twist or the mashed potato or the watusi, they all say, "So easy, clap your hands." And I thought, this one's really difficult. Triple salco, double somersault. You know, wait. You know. So anyway, but it was like a kind of opera song, dance craze song mixed together. So
yeah. And I was really surprised to hear that you haven't had any vocal training or much vocal training. Is that right?
I had a little bit of vocal training when I was after all. I did my sort of showbiz stuff in the early 90s, and it didn't have any success. I thought I joined. I went for some opera singing lessons.
So you have had opera singing lessons? Okay.
Yeah. So you kind of learn about how, you know, how to put, you know, the diaphragm and how to project and all that stuff. And at the time, you think it's a waste of time, but if you're singing a lot, it suddenly does. You're not singing on the throat. You're actually singing correctly. So when I did sing a song like "Smells Like Teen Spirit," where you've got to force the air up and then close your throat to rasp like that. You know, it's quite useful to know how to, you know, rest your voice on something strong like the diaphragm muscle, and then you can control the tone and everything.
Didn't you sing? And I haven't been stalking you, but I think it's on YouTube. But didn't you sing opera at your wedding?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I used to sing that song. Torn Out, Return to Sorrento. Elvis did it, and loads of famous singers. But I used to do it with the ukes then. So I'm either doing opera songs or grunge songs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one or the other, black and white. So I'm either always, you know, trying to be a romantic singer or, you know, trying to rock out.
Yeah.
You know,
it just shows how versatile the ukulele is.
Well,
you know, and how versatile you are.
Oh, well, that's right. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Cool. Well, so I guess the last question then is just what's next for you? Like, are you winding down, speeding up, staying with the orchestra, doing your own thing?
Yeah, I mean, like,
all of it.
I'm doing all of that. I don't intend to stop, you know, because this illness I had last year. You know, I was, usually people say, and that's when my life changed, Jim, you know, and I became a Christian, or I stopped smoking, or I, you know, did the 12 steps, or I didn't have any of that. I enjoy doing what I do, you know, with qualifications about the travel and all that and being away from home. And I like to keep doing it. I'd like to diversify. You know, I enjoy writing, so I do a blog when I'm on tour. I might try and maybe write a film script or something. But, you know, all you can do is try it and then see what happens. And quite often when you follow your dreams have a crazy habit of coming true.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah.
Peter, it's been such a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure, John, a real pleasure, and it's great to have you, you know, well here, and you know, we played a song together.
Yeah, well, thank you, and hopefully we'll see you next year in LA.
In LA, great.
Yeah, cool.
Okay,
I'll be back again soon with some more great lessons and videos for you. Until next time, I love you all, and I wish you the best.
All the best. Bye.